We are live. The
We can go live now to the Success Creation Studio.
The revolution will be televised.
For those that are joining us, if you just give us 60 seconds, we'll wait for people to join, and then we will get started on this week's mastermind.
Sounds good. No problem.
No problem.
I'll give it a like. Got the one watcher at the minute.
Oh, I forgot to put something on.
Just gonna start recording a video. We're live on YouTube at the minute, guys, with a link in our bio. If you could all go check it out. We've got Brandon, Gareth, and Kev. Just go to the link in our bio. We're live on YouTube.
Right. Shall we make a start?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cracking.
Well, welcome to this week's mastermind. This is the best mastermind Q4 this year. This is the only place you want to be. As always, we're going to be talking all things Amazon. We're going to be talking business, entrepreneurship. This week, we're actually going to be talking a lot more to do with personal development, a bit more goal setting and motivation. It's that time of year where we really need to be inspired to take massive action, because this is the time of year that really, really counts. So, as always, my name's Kev from lifesuccessengineer.com, and we'll just have a quick introduction from everybody.
Brandon, should...
So...
inspired to take massive action, because this is the...
I don't know what happened there.
go from the top, mate. Go from the top.
Myself and Izaak, you can get us on Instagram, Amazon Success Creation, or YouTube, like some of you may be watching now, at the Success Creation team.
And yeah, I'm Gareth from Fueled by Success. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and obviously on my channel here on YouTube as well, by the same name, Fueled by Success. Keep watching.
Yeah. So, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit more personal development this week. So, if you've got any questions at all about motivation, routines, planning, anything like that, then just get into any of our streams. We're all three of us are streaming, so wherever you are, just use the chat and we can communicate with you guys, engage with you guys. So, first of all, I guess we'll have a bit of an update from everybody. How's the week been?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one, hasn't it? I think the systems are working well at the minute. We've had very few problems this week in the warehouse and on the purchasing floor and things like that. We've actually spent a bit of time out the business this week, more than usual, which has been great. For example, just for yesterday, I think it was just sat at a coffee shop working on the business, and it was great to get out of the warehouse or the office and actually be somewhere impartial and just do some work on the business. That was really good. I enjoyed that. So yeah, it's been a positive week so far, for sure.
Awesome.
That's good. Yeah, I'm pretty much the same, to be quite honest with you. It's this week's been very much about getting stock in for me this week. I've tried to really ramp up on getting things in, purchased, and then back out the door ASAP basically as well. But I've also done quite a lot of work behind the scenes as well. So like setting up, I had a bit of a time off from setting up my repricer, so I needed to go back into there and had quite a few lines I needed to catch up on. So that's been something that's been done, and I've been really working on my golden gaps this week, something we was talking about in last week's episode. That's something I've really tried to push home with this week, and I've got about 3 or 4 on the actually live now, so I'm happy with that.
Awesome. Yeah, for me same. My sister's back in the warehouse, so we are fully manned or fully womened, if you like, and they're doing a great job in the warehouse. We are getting busier, as all of us will be doing, especially with the prep service, trying to get all the products out within that 24-hour period. So apart from that, I've had a great week. I did a good update of my goals last week on my channel, so really clearer on where I am right now. So just taking huge amounts of action, which is great that we're talking a bit more personal development this week.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Like this week I've tried to, well, I have integrated a bit more of a routine into my mornings for sure. And I think I feel a lot better. Do you know what I mean? More in the game, if you like, this week because of that. I've been before I'd normally wake up at, say, for example, 8 o'clock in the morning, head straight to the warehouse, just start working. But instead now I've kind of taken it back 2 hours, woke up at 6, gone straight to the gym, gone home, cold shower, get ready and go to the warehouse, and I feel so much more prepared for a day now. I just feel a lot better. It's good to get back to the gym again as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, like they say, you know, how you start the day is how you end the day.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's one of the things, especially when you're working for yourself, you got to motivate yourself, and what better way to motivate yourself than get up, especially now when it's starting to get colder mornings. You're straight out into the cold,
waking
straight
up in
into
the
the gym.
Black, like, yeah.
But I bet your productivity and your energy's gone right.
I feel great for it. I mean, today I've been a bit tired, I'll be honest, but I think that's just a product from the early mornings and not. Do you know what I mean? But this week as a whole, I've been a lot more productive. I've looked into a lot of things that I want to do in 2018, like goal setting, like we'll talk about this evening. But for sure, it's been a good start to the week for me.
It's good. Very good. What about you?
Yeah, similar to Izaak getting up earlier, it was actually, I only started yesterday. He told me about, obviously he was going to start trying to get more out of his day and stuff, so he told me about the first couple of days, and I was like, wow, okay, I'll try it. So yeah, I'm feeling a little bit tired today as well, but on the whole, while I'm actually working, I do feel a lot more creative as well, to be fair. I feel like it's like unlocks more parts of my brain. It's like there's more working.
Well, you've just been to Paris, so I bet that was
tell us about
really
that.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Paris because
good to kind of similar to this week where we've been out of the business but working on it. I mean, I wasn't working on it for the whole, but I was away from the business. It was nice being able to check on things and see that everything was running smoothly without having to be here.
You're a liar. I was working to the bone. I've got sores on my hands.
But yeah, it was really good, really nice to just step back and appreciate.
Well, that's the brilliance of the Amazon business, isn't it? Like, you can be anywhere in the world.
Can do that, yeah. So yeah, it was really good. Definitely something that I want to do more of.
It's very good.
I'm exactly the same. Like, well, we went to Mallorca, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it's one of the. I think that's what's so attractive with an Amazon business, because you can set up systems, whether that's using prep service, whether it's a warehouse like this, you can set up your systems and then you can literally manage it from anywhere.
It's prepped, etc. So you can just log on and see what's been received that day, things like that. So you can check what the staff are getting through. Also, we obviously have the cameras live, so you can just look at the staff and watch them.
That's the best part.
And just see them working and getting through everything. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just checking what the staff are up to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I'm like looking, say if I'm not like in the business even that day, now, even as much as sales, one of the first things I check is I just go and manage shipments and see what's. Say if it's 5 p.m. that day, and I know that the guys have gone home and they're done. For
you can see how much they've shipped that day.
What have you shipped? What have you done? And I understand that some of the stuff's can be prep clients and stuff like that, but I just check that. Have we had units going out? How many units? You know, what are the units like that's been sent? And then that gives you in terms of on the warehouse floor and in the part that we are physically in. That's I think probably the best way to check what they've. Obviously, going on the camera is great because you can just
actually
log on to the camera and you can actually just physically see. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes we can speak through that and have a bit of a laugh with the guys in the warehouse. But yeah, for sure, I check the manage shipments.
Do you have any sort of systems or anything for?
Well, at the minute it's generally me and my mother's working in the business as well, so I'm pretty still hands-on with relation to that type of thing. But in terms of the systems and things like that, it's when we're getting stuff shipped in. I think the other day Kylie came round.
Yeah.
My sister, if everybody doesn't know. And she was saying that I had things all over the place, basically, as shipments were coming in. I kind of had a shipment in area, but didn't really have... it's like when things were getting labelled and things like that, I was maybe just labelling them and just finding the products and labelling them. then she was like, I couldn't work like this. So like, obviously from your side of things, for working with you, she was like saying, you know, we have an area that wants to label, they have to go into that area and all the rest of it and things like that. So I've worked.
I think that's only that's only because you're at a smaller space.
Yeah,
right now.
Exactly.
Once you move into a warehouse, you're gonna have that, aren't you?
Yeah, it all depends on whether it's raining or not, whether I can use the outside space or not. But it's, it's definitely getting towards that point when I think, like we said I spoke about last week. I'm very much, I think, in the need of a warehouse now. It's not necessarily just from a monetary point of view, but more from a, like you said, a space productivity point of view now.
Yeah.
The amount of stock that's coming in, we've got stock in every room in the house, as you can imagine. It starts from the kitchen, it rolls into the living room, the garage, the bedrooms, wherever it can be stored. So it's that's something I've been looking at. Yeah,
you got to weigh up those pros and cons. I literally just released a video on the pros and cons of a warehouse versus a prep center. I mean, the idea is to get out your home.
Yeah.
But it's I can see. I think we've all experienced. You guys used to do it in your bedroom, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I was lucky in that aspect that it was at Brandon's house and not mine. Just it was like long short straw.
And for one, yours was a single. Imagine it.
A single bedroom.
But yeah, that was interesting. Going to sleep next to boxes, waking up next to boxes, just living next to.
And your house as well. Like when there was boxes down the stairs, isn't it? The bottom of the stairs.
Right before we moved out, it was really getting towards similar. I think where Gaz is now, to be fair.
Yeah, it is.
But then all of a sudden you transfer that amount of shipping goods out in your house, and then you do that in a warehouse, and that's a quiet day.
Do
you know what I mean? And it is now. What we'd do then would have been like a relatively steady day.
Absolutely,
which is interesting, I think. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I always used to the sort of reference that I used to say is going into a warehouse. It's like a vacuum effect, because like you go from being in a bedroom or living room, dining room, wherever you're prepping. Feeling really, really busy, but then you go into a warehouse and it's like you're not busy at all. So you end up then you're trying to, you guys, just like us guys, will try to find those products to fill the space, and that's how you end up getting your growth.
And also though, I think that can work to a negative as well. And we found this is you could order a pallet from a wholesaler, for example, of health and beauty and cosmetic products, and they could have an average transaction value of £6 or £7. And before you're VAT registered, like we did this is speaking from experience. You'd order the products and they'd arrive, and you'd spend all day prepping this toothpaste and this shower gel and stuff. And then when you watch the sales on the back of that, all of a sudden you're selling 50 units, which is great. You're selling 50 units a day, but you've only done £500. So then it's a case of, okay, well, sometimes you can, to fill your time and to fill your, we send this many units, you can end up shipping. You need to make sure that the input into your system's still good.
Absolutely.
Instead of, do you know what I mean? Because it is very easy to just go, I want to fill up some more time, or place a wholesale order. £1,000, and it could be 1,000 units, and you could ship 1,000 units in a day. But the sales on the back of that are poor. Do you know what I mean? So that's an important one as well. For anybody watching.
And that's why you've always, it's an important metric, the average transaction value. You've got to focus on that, because it's one of the key performance indicators that I look at, because if that starts to drop, maybe we've purchased more groceries than toys and things, it starts to drop, and that's how you can, obviously the lower your transaction value is, the more you have to sell. So one of the best ways to increase your revenue is by higher priced goods, so but from my point of view, in terms of being away from the business, it's something that I really started focusing on last year, and I created a weekly warehouse meeting, which we have every Monday with the girls there, which is a great meeting because it allows us all to see what's going on, from the critical performance of the business. So we talk about anything we need to really action there and then, like hazardous materials in the warehouse, anything that's come from Amazon in terms of performance notifications, and then we go through each stage. So we make sure that we're never going to run out of materials, and any issues in the warehouse, how many units we've shipped in the previous week. So I've got history of all this, so you can start to collect as much data as you can to see. You can start to see if you are trending downwards, for example. And that's why whenever I'm away from the business, like next week I'm going to be in Rome, I'll get the daily shipped, how many units were shipped in the day, and as well as how many, the value of the purchases we've made in that day, as well as the units purchased that day, and that tells me everything I need to know in that day.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Use that sheet, and then that's just a snapshot of how the day's gone.
Yeah. Exactly.
On the warehouse floor, on the purchasing virtual side, and then it's the replenishment side. It's great. It's great.
Exactly.
And check out Kev's video, guys, on his sheets, because they're really good sheets, for sure.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So, having said that, then, do you guys have any sort of weekly? Because I just quickly touched on a weekly routine that I have. Do you have any? Because we're talking a little bit more personal development things. Do you have any weekly routines like that you recap or review your business to see how you can get to that next level?
Not as much with the staff. It's probably something that we'll start to look at. To be fair, because it's not a bad thing. I think it can only be a good thing doing that weekly with the staff as well. We obviously check the sheets and any systems and sheets we've got in place that are like an overview of how it's gone in that week. We obviously check that, but nothing as sort of with the staff going through it with them. But we check it ourselves and just have like a quick overview of how it's gone. Anything major that's flagged up, we can obviously look at it and go from there.
Yeah, in terms of like the warehouse guys, we don't have like a weekly conversation, which I think we should.
Yeah.
In terms of our purchase of Praveen, we do
daily conversations.
Yeah. It's like an ongoing update. Like we get a message every day of
how much
he's still
because he's like your virtual manager.
He's the gaffer, if you like.
Yeah.
He'll let us know. Do you know what I mean? He actually texts me on and you as well, doesn't he? On iMessage. Purchase just literally the headline figure,
just the amount, like the main, and then if you want to know any more, obviously he's got it all on the sheets.
Yeah, and he can see his purchasing target, and he can say we're miles off or we're smashing through it. So that side of things with Praveen, that is like implemented, but with the warehouse guys, that's not.
No,
for sure, that's not.
I tend to have we have a morning meeting each Monday with me and like the purchaser, the reviewer, who's the same person at the moment for me, and also obviously my mother, and for in the business side of things. And that's just a catch up to see, if we've had a few hazmat things come through recently, it's to check on things such as if there's been any issues, if there's something we can streamline for the purchaser or the reviewer to make sure that if there's something that's clinking, if you like, then it's something we can put into place to make it run more smoothly. We also have a watch list, which is for sometimes when things are being sent through from the VAs, and this is something I action weekly at the moment, which I'm going to look to push over to the purchaser, so if you're watching, happy days. But it's the weekly checklist is basically, or watch list should I say, is where sometimes when your VAs have sent things through, and it might be from one store, let's say, there's one item just from one random store, but it's not enough to purchase maybe a larger amount, then that item he puts into a Google sheet called the watch list, and and then it's into stores.
Sounds like a film.
Yeah, and then it's into stores, so you've got each and every store on there, a wholesaler exception that we use. And then they all get put into there, and then that's so that you can go back in, because you don't want to lose those winners sometimes, but there's sometimes it can get forgotten about if you've not added them in or into your weekly replen, etc. So by capturing them in there, it also has become a great replen sheet, because technically everything in that wish list should be a winner. So you sometimes got to do an odd little check on it, but that's something we do weekly, and I use that to replen as well as to order the singled items to make sure that we're capturing in the net everything to get 100% productivity from. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that because I think there's a great strength of having a discussion with the team. So first of all, they know what contribution that they're having, because obviously what you want is everybody to be rowing the same way. So exactly. So I think the girls in the office, they enjoy it as well, because it gives them a vehicle, if you like, a place to speak up their mind, what they think, where we can improve. I know the girls, Kylie and Amber and my sister, they're always how we can improve things, where we can move the warehouse and things like that. So it's a great thing to have.
I think the feedback's important. I've found since I started doing it. I mean, we're probably only about a month or so into doing it, like weekly, like this, on a Monday morning. But it's I've found the feedback's good as well, because it's also things that sometimes they want to learn. So they're quite happy to be productive on their own, if you like, and take initiative. But sometimes it's like, you know, I feel if I've had them come to me and say, I feel I could actually do this for you if you just let me know how to do it, side of things. So I think that feedback and constructive feedback as well, you know, so it might be like the hazmat side of things. It's just making them aware, because we share the same reviewer, obviously. It's making them aware of things that have popped up in issues, so that they're aware for the next time. But I think that, like you've just said, I think the feedback's very good from both sides, definitely.
Absolutely,
we need it as well as they do. Do you know
of course,
what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it allows you to see what the morale's like in the team. It allows, if there are any like sort of minor issues, you can address it together. You can come, because I mean,
minor issues compound.
Of course they do. Yeah. They do
HR.
compound, and then obviously they can turn into a bit of a major issue. But it's great. It's always better to have a selection of minds trying to tackle a problem or something than just yourself in the background. So yeah, absolutely.
We've got a question come through from Ben. Hi Ben, first of all.
Hi Ben.
You most likely started with some retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, and I'm assuming you're most likely into wholesale mostly now. Do you still rely on some OA deals or have good wholesalers? I think we can kind of blanket answer that question. I think all of us are primarily OA still, with a dabble, a sprinkling of wholesale, I'd say. I think that's...
I'm 90%. And it's something that I actually do track as well. I like to... I've separated my operations. I don't know whether you guys ever did this, but I separate my online arbitrage operations to my wholesale operations. And when I say separate, same warehouse and things, but I mean separate tabs on the old my live sheet, because then I can track to see, and then I get different reports as well. So the following month, Harry will tell us what our sales have been from just wholesale, so I can see the growth.
It's interesting,
it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think we actually did kind of transition. Well, we did. I don't think we did. We did transition to mostly wholesale. However, even at the point we're at now, the capital-wise, when you go into wholesale, to actually get the really good deals on the items that you're going to be able to sell a lot of and speak to manufacturers and stuff, you're talking wholesale is like to get good and master wholesale. It's a big money game. Definitely. It's not a case of like there's so many wholesalers you can find on Google that are still good and you'll still find winners with some. And then you can sell the products, which is great. But if you was a real wholesale player, you're not finding the ones on. Do you know what I mean? Through Google, you're actually speaking to manufacturers and things like that, and that's like quite a big capital game, really.
Definitely.
So I'm not, because wholesale's great. People make phenomenal amounts of money with it, but it is something.
It's
that
volume,
you
of course
require.
it is.
Yeah,
of course it's volume.
Definitely require. To do wholesale 100%, you need decent warehouse space. You need a very high inventory limit on Amazon, first of all, because you're sending things in the 200s instead of the 10s. And also
relationship with suppliers
and a lot of cash.
And raising the standards. I think sourcing up to say 100,000 in their way is okay because you're buying 10, but wholesale, if you're having to buy a lot more, you need to make sure it's like top 20,000 as well.
Yeah,
you're having to buy like 10 times as many products.
Yeah. I mean, we've all seen on Instagram and whatever people making tremendous amounts of money with wholesale, which is definitely achievable. But it's just a case of, like you said there, Kev, the relationships with suppliers and the money and the cash is the two things that are key, and then your whole systems need to be in line with that. So it's a wide thing. You'd need a big warehouse. You'd need. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, for us, with the warehouses, it'd be great to have a prep service client that does wholesale through you.
For sure.
Because you'd be able to go through some volume with that prep service client. But if you're trying to sell, I agree. And also what I found is. You sometimes you have to do like bank transfers as well, so it's a huge drain on your cash flow.
Yeah, that's why I think it's wholesale's it really is a money game. I mean, Amazon as a whole's a money game, but wholesale really is because you need cash coming in big amounts to be placing 5k orders, 10k orders, 20k orders, and that's the reality of if you want a real wholesale player, you're not placing 500 or £1,000 orders. You're talking about tens of £1,000.
You've got a lot, absolutely.
I was talking with one of my friends recently, actually, about wholesale side of things, who we all know, Martin, and he does quite a bit now in wholesale. I think he said he's around about 40 or 50% into wholesale. My side of things on it is, I use them by all means, but I've found that I haven't found a wholesaler where I find a good amount of units to find from that one wholesaler, if that makes sense. Like you're using maybe several to find little bits out of that. And I find, for me personally, it's took a lot of time to source out a decent wholesaler rather than just because there's wholesalers out there and then there's wholesalers. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. And those real gold mine wholesalers aren't the ones that you'd search on Google when you put wholesale toys.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They actually take a lot of digging and stuff like that.
That's it. And I think, like you said, it's that relationship and everything with that wholesaler. The one I'm using at the moment is pretty much a telephone call situation. It's more of he'll phone me and say, I've got these and I think these would be good because he knows exactly what I'm utilising it for, i.e. Amazon and all the rest of it. And he says, I think he must have a few people going through it from the same aspects over there, like, Gareth, you need to get on this. Do you know what I mean? So that's the type of thing. But it's anybody who's got a decent one, definitely go down that avenue. But it's for me right now, it's more of a time, I would say, from my point of view. It's not been a want of not wanting to do more wholesale.
You can take more action just in online
exactly
because obviously right at the beginning you want to concentrate where you're spending your time and leverage your time the most. And if you're spending 3 days trying to find a wholesaler and you're not doing anything, then it's easier just to concentrate your efforts.
And when you're looking into other avenues, like we talked about earlier, golden gaps, you're looking into private label stuff and things like that. You know, we all have time to do everything that we want to make happen and prioritise, but that isn't one of my priorities as much. Like I've got a good OA source at the moment. So
I think it's a good time just to, because we sort of was going to talk a little bit more personal development. So I'm keen to know what you guys think in your own words about why, if anybody's watching, if they don't know what personal development is, and why you feel like it's important and if it's contributed to the success that you've had.
Yeah, anybody want to start?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I was introduced to a lot of the personal development side of things through you. So, I mean, I'd heard of Tony Robbins and things like that. My mum had got the cassettes actually back in the day for Tony Robbins, and she kept saying to me, "You need to read, listen to this and all the rest of it." And it wasn't until you kind of really started. I think you went to the first Tony Robbins
Unleash the Power.
Yeah. And I remember you came back from that and was spouting out a few different things. I was starting to think, "Are you all right?" But it's as they said you would do. You'd have people coming back saying that. But so that for me was my first proper taste of going into it, looking more into it, should I say?
Yeah. How would you define personal development then? For somebody that doesn't know what we're talking about, personal development.
So my take on personal development is taking in, from my point of view, educating yourself more than anything about how you can progress. And for me, it's a feel-good factor. I've found more than anything. I'm not afraid to say it. We're in a mastermind group with everybody who's watching. I feel like it makes you really look at yourself. I would say personal development and drill down to the areas where you maybe need to pay a little bit more attention, not just to the business but to yourself.
Yeah.
And one thing I would personally say for me is I've not always been the most motivated. I've got the ideas and I've about what I want to do and everything, but necessarily putting those into action wasn't something that I was great at. But since doing self-development and going to Tony Robbins then the next year with yourself and with you boys actually as well, I found that when you actually take time and you look at the areas of your life, and we did that little piece, I can't remember the right name for it.
Real life.
Yeah, where you kind of put into how much time you spend in different areas of your life. That was quite enlightening look at what I wanted to see. So the different aspects that I was looking at, and for me coming out of that, I've put a lot of that into action now. So I've always been more. You boys have been talking about getting up early in the morning. I've always been a bit of a night person personally. I've struggled in mornings, but I have tried to adapt to that to see if it works for me. I know you did it the opposite way around, so that's something I've looked at.
I'm more like you at night. That's funny, isn't it? It's weird.
So I've tried to look into that. But it's the books for me as well, and it's how it makes me feel. I've found personally that personal development has pushed me onto that next level. So it's really made me look at myself, and I mean, I even class doing these sort of meetings like this, the mastermind sessions, as self-development and personal development.
Absolutely, it's introduced in Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah,
mastermind groups, you grow together as a team. Yeah,
and I feel that rubbing shoulders with like-minded people. And I know whenever you guys talk about different things, it makes me think, right, you take a step back sometimes from the table and you kind of go, what am I doing in that aspect of my life? Or where am I in that part of my business, if that makes sense? So for me, definitely I recommend personal development to anybody. It's if I could sum it up, for me, what gives me the best is probably that feel-good factor. Because when I've looked
really
back,
important, that,
when I've looked back at something and I find out where I need to focus a little bit more of my time. Family was a big thing that came into it. When I looked at it, I was spending a lot of time on my business, a hell of a lot of time. And if anything, I maybe needed to spend a little bit of time, put designated time to one side for my family, is what I also found as well. Because you maybe overlook like the girlfriends, the family members, all the rest of it as well. Sure. So I think that's an important piece. But I
think that's well said, mate. I think it really is well said. How about you?
Yeah, we're all going to have obviously similar-ish answers, but obviously it's a whole different world, and it sounds or looks, if you're watching videos of a lot of personal development related things, it looks kind of crazy at first. Like when obviously I first heard about it similar to Gaz through yourself, and I watched the videos and read a few things. It sounded great and everything, but I know how to actually apply any of it until we went to Tony Robbins' UPW. And when you're actually immersed in that and with other people that are trying to progress and understand it more, that's when it really kind of hit. But it's kind of hard to explain it. I suppose it's not as much business orientated, because it's more looking at yourself and how it can be, I suppose, because you're looking at yourself and then you could maybe affect your business through that. But it's kind of looking at all areas. It's unlocking areas of your brain and how you think that you wouldn't normally look at. I think a lot of people dismiss it and just think that it's all rubbish or whatever, without actually immersing yourself in it and actually giving it a go.
I don't think until you've tried it,
you can really...
Yeah, you look from the outside, it's like, what's that cook doing
like,
over there?
What are you doing? But yeah, until you've actually tried it, I think I don't think you can really knock it.
No, yeah, definitely.
It's definitely worth a try. I think anyone and everyone can get something out of it. Definitely. Because like I say, it's unlocking a different part of your brain that you don't usually use.
Well, they don't have a personal development class in school, do they?
No, no.
That's the interesting thing, that something that's so pivotal to so many people isn't even looked at in the education system. I mean, that's a different conversation, but I really do think it should be something that is a young, from the age of starting school, then it should be about conversations about what people are grateful for and things like that, just to embed those, like, because so many people, like myself included, kind of muddle through life without really ever being that grateful for anything, I'd say, or being grateful but not really understanding why they're grateful or what that person's done for them in their life. Do you know what I mean? And I think if people could kind of from a young age, or if it was something that was ingrained in people, to be more grateful naturally, I think that'd be great for.
Imagine that from age of 5.
I think
like 16.
Exactly. You'd be on a different level because you'd have a thing of. Your belief system would be awesome, and you'd just be, do you know what I mean? To be able to be grateful, not actually having to action that thought, which now I'm at a stage where I don't really feel like I've got to think, oh, what am I grateful for here? It's more of a case of, like, I am grateful, and then I can think about what I'm grateful for, not try to force myself to be, do you know what I mean? Like, first with personal development, and everybody talks about gratitude, it's like, okay, so what am I grateful for then? And then after a while, you just feel grateful.
Yeah, I think when I was first introduced to it, because I remember it very well. I think I think what happens, if I was to sort of define personal development in my own words, I would pretty much summarize it as deciding what you want to do with your life, which is different for all of us. And when you're little, when you're like 5, 6, 7 years old, and people are saying, well, what do you want to be? Aspire to be like an astronaut and things like that. It seems to me that you get to a certain point in life where the people then start to say, well, you've got to be a bit more realistic at this point now. Yeah. Pick a job. And to be honest, that's when I think back, I then decided, well, electrical engineer is a great job, so I'm just going to study for that. So I think personal development's all about just deciding what you want to do in your life, setting yourself like a goal, like a big vision, and thinking. It sounds maybe a bit ridiculous, but like it's not wrong to want to be a millionaire. No. It's not wrong to want to be a billionaire and affect millions and millions of people. It's just that question of like, oh, how is that going to happen? And then once you start to open your mind to thinking, actually, I'm going to make this happen. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but I'm going to make it happen. And then it's somehow you just get up. Yeah.
It's hard to describe.
It is, and because I think at that point then, when it really hits you then, and I think you then look at your own life and you think, hang on a minute, I want my life to be better. And I want more for my life. And at that point there's no real return. You think to yourself, actually, I want to grow to become much better. I want to become a millionaire. I want to create businesses and things. And that really comes from not settling and just wanting to grow and push. And I think that's pretty much what happened to me. And then that influenced you. And
yeah, I think it's a knock-on effect.
Yeah, and I think then I don't think I would have opened my mind to like Amazon if it wasn't for that, because I never really thought internet businesses, Amazon is a thing. I didn't even know.
Yeah. It's like for me, like describing personal development. For me, it's about like you said a lot, like realizing your reason why. I think that's a massive thing. Like your reason. What is your reason why? Yeah. That's a huge thing. And then it's a case of like, for me, it's becoming the best that you can be in all aspects. So that's like relationships, business, your body, your mind. Do you know what I mean? Like all those things.
Gives you a lot more clarity, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It's nice to kind of step back and you think about and shape where you're going to go, instead of it being the system or other people around you, for you to actually sit back and go.
Yeah. And then as well, you're open to knowledge as well. You're open to and when you've got knowledge and you implement the knowledge, then something good happens, doesn't it? Because because say, for example, if you just kind of like accepting the fact that you're in, like when I used to work at Curry's, for example, kind of just accepting the fact that that's where I was in my life. I wasn't taking on any new information that would make myself better. I was just working every day because whenever my shifts was. Just working because that's what my job was. I'd not acknowledged the fact that I could make myself better in this way by, for example, something as simple as watching a video on YouTube or by reading a book or opening my mind to new things, because my mind was just closed and I was just doing what I think was the right thing at the time.
I think one of the greatest quotes was from Jim Rohn, and like, working at Curry's is not a bad thing. If whatever job you've got, that's just, and it's same with electrical engineering. It's not a bad job. In fact, I've really, really enjoyed electrical engineering. It is something that I actually enjoyed to do. But what hit home with me with Jim Rohn is when he said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And then he started talking about, you can work incredibly hard at your job, and I'm sure you guys were the same. You would bust a gut in your job, and sometimes maybe you didn't get recognised, or you want more, or you want more growth. And then I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to work on myself. I'm going to start this Amazon business. I'm going to work on my productivity, and then that's really how that's where it all came from.
Yeah, I think when because when you're working in another place and you do really good work, the benefit, okay, you might get a 10% pay increase the next year or something like that if you're kind of lucky. But the main benefit isn't for you; it's for your employer. But when you work when you're working on yourself, the main benefit is for yourself and the people around you. Because as soon as you start coming through with and becoming a more like complete person in terms of personal development, then you're nicer to be around and you can lift people up around you as well. which I think is a big
Of
thing.
course, a huge thing.
Because you can't inspire somebody unless you're inspired yourself. And when you're inspired by like your purpose, then you start really enjoying your life, don't you?
I think it's one of the things that it'd be quite interesting conversation to have with anybody, really, just to ask, well, what is it that you want to do with in your life? I love that conversation with anybody, really, because it interests me what other people are interested in. But sometimes they do say, I don't really know, because I think a lot of people don't really know what they want to do.
Or why they want to do. Because people have like something in their head, like I want to be wealthy and travel the world. They know that they want to do that at some point in their life, but then it's like a case of a lot of people kind of, for some reason, kind of accept that they're not going to be able to do that, and then they settle for something. But if they know the reason why they want to do it, and accept the fact that they are ambitious and that they are willing to take risks to get places, then they'll. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's what did it for me. I think like once we'd started looking into the personal development and things like that, I think when a big part of me leaving my full-time job, and I'd worked my way up into management, and I, before this had all come along, I was trying to work my way up to thinking I wanted to be like regional manager or whatever else, etc. And then this opportunity came along, and that decision of leaving, I think through doing things like personal development and things like that, and like you said, realising your goal and where you want to be and all the rest of it, I think that was a big part of that helped me transition into running my own business and leaving. Now it's like you said. I always remember that little quote. You'll have to forgive me for who said it, but it's where you said about like sometimes you have got to just like jump into your dinghy, row to the island, and
it was Tony Robbins that said what was it? It said, if you want to take on the island, burn your effing boats.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I did.
In a really deep American accent.
Yeah.
But then that's empowering. You got to I decided I was going to get on that island. I burnt my boat, and you just got to survive. And it's funny how much you utilise to your strengths, like the different aspects of anything. Anything you can use, you'll make it happen. Then do you know what I mean? And it's surprising how well you can start to make things happen when you've got no other choice.
You got exactly. It's do or die.
Throw you to the wolves and you'll come back leading the pack.
Yeah. Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, we're at the end of the day, we are driven by instinct. If this warehouse here, if you put a line in here now, you're either going to die or you're going to go out fighting, aren't you?
Yeah. So, or you're going to beat the lion and you're going to win. Like,
exactly.
It's as simple as that, and it's black and white.
And that's why I think everybody comes to a crossroad, especially in their own businesses, when they're starting their own businesses, where it's like, do I quit my job or not? And at that point there, it becomes probably one of the most serious conversations that you've had with yourself and your spouse and your family that you ever have. Yeah, because once you've taken that step, and I remember it very well, thinking to myself, I've just got my electrical engineering degree. I spent 9 years of my life getting it, and now I'm going to tell my plant engineer, after just being promoted 6 months earlier, I'm now quitting for this business model that I'd literally only been doing for 6 months. Yeah. But once you take that step, I think if I hadn't taken that step, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you guys now. I'd just be going to, maybe all of us maybe not having this conversation right now.
Would. No, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it was a bit weird. And then once you do take that step and you think, holy crap, like my wage is now going to stop. Like in next month, I've got to make this happen. Otherwise, you're on the streets. Well,
it's
I'm glad to be at your house.
It's amazing how resilient you become to other people's like skepticism and things like that as well. It's like only today we was at the accountant that you boys both use, and the accountant was sat in front of us, and it just made me kind of like titter. And he was talking about he was like, oh well, I mean, who knows how long it's going to, like, selling on Amazon is going to be a viable business. And I thought, come on, I love the doubt, because that now almost like inspires me now, because at first it's like, okay, well, I mean, either way, you could maybe give us some of our feedback if you don't think it's going to be.
That was actually a question that had come through on Instagram, actually, was when you first, like, been talking about personal development and all the rest of it, when we all first, like, started doing it, what was people's perception around what we do? So what you do, and also, like, especially when you said you were going to leave your job to do, to sell on Amazon. What was people's perceptions of that?
I remember
That's from Max as well. Thank you.
Max, was it?
Max.
Thank you, Max. I remember the day when I went home and told Kylie about it. We'd gone to bed that night, and I said, I literally said this: our life's going to change because of this opportunity called Amazon. And the reaction, I can't honestly thank Kylie enough for the spot, because I think I could imagine there's maybe some people that are not surrounded by such incredible people, like that you do maybe have people that are maybe not as supportive. If somebody's like, oh, Amazon, get yourself a real job or something, I can imagine that could put people off. But I was surrounded by yourself. Before I knew you guys, I was surrounded by a couple of my close friends, Dave and Eddie. And then Kylie, obviously, every day. It was so fortunate for Kylie to be off on maternity leave at that time. And she was all in as well. And I'm very fortunate to have been surrounded by incredible people.
I think the puzzle piece is like just. I think for all of us in our own individual circumstance, I think the puzzle pieces literally just fall together when something's. Do you know what I mean? Like meant to happen or will happen or whatever. I think the puzzle pieces just go together, and then you end up. It becomes like your reality. I think when we said this in. I think it was Alfie that asked.
Yeah.
In one of the other episodes.
Yeah.
I think my answer was then. I think. At first, being like young lads or whatever, a lot of the people, everybody likes to have a laugh and stuff. They'd use it as a bit of a way of going, oh, so you're selling used crap on eBay.
Yeah.
And at first we got a bit of banter about it from a lot of people. I remember a girl in my flat at university was like mocking it quite a lot once, and I said, look, mock me all you want. Like we can talk in 12 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Then, do you know what I mean? And I feel pretty good about the decision we made 12 months ago. 12 months on from that. So I think at first you'll get people doubting you because it's not the norm. You're not getting a job. You're not getting the job that everybody says is really good, but you still feel miserable in. Do you know what I mean? You're not doing what society says is the norm to do.
Yeah.
But when you've done it, it'll feel pretty sweet.
Yeah. I think that's the same situation for myself. Just to answer the question, it's I think when I decided to leave, it was a big decision. Don't get me wrong, but and I've said this quite a few times. If you've checked out Kev's YouTube before, he did an interview with me as well. But it was I think it gets to that point where I had the conversation with my manager and sort of like said at the time, because we worked at the same place obviously together as well, and told him that I was going to leave and everything, and he kind of said, so he asked me, re-questioned what we do, if that makes sense. So I kind of filled him in and everything. He said, I wish you the best of luck, and he couldn't have been more supportive in that particular situation, which was nice. But then at the end of it, he did just leave that little bit of like, if you needed to come back, we could probably sort something out.
Yeah, me too.
I had the same actually, which is nice, isn't it?
It is nice, yeah, it is. But then in that very moment, that's what made me think. It's as nice as he was in that situation, it's there like I don't want to be coming back to this situation.
But it also pushes you on more.
It does, yeah. That's what I mean.
Then it dawns on you the reality when you think that over in 3 months' time. You think,
I'm going to make this happen.
Like when you're having a bad day, if you think about the thought of your old 9-to-5 job or whatever hours you used to work, shift work, I don't know, whatever hours. Yeah. And then if you think back to that moment when you're thinking, I don't know whether I can be bothered to do this, I don't know whether I want to do that or whatever. Then think back to that moment and let the feeling of walking back into that place and asking for your job back.
Well, I think that would be awful, but I also think that once you've taken that step, I don't think for the rest of our lives we'll ever work for anybody again. We will do whatever it takes, even if I'm convinced, even if Amazon, something happens there, there's going to be something else. There's going to be something else, because I think once you've taken that leap, there is no going back. Yeah. There really isn't.
Well, I've built my boat. I can't get off the island now.
There is no going back, because ultimately, when you put yourself in that position, you would much rather create a product of your own and go door to door selling, trying to work it on yourself. Do you know what I mean?
I'm still kind of. I had a conversation at Costa one day with some good friends. I think was you there when one of the boys said something about, is this what you want to do then, like for the rest of your career wise? And I said, yeah. I said I'd rather hustle like on the streets, like with a hat in front of me,
trying to make a bit of money,
trying to make money than I would go back and work for somebody else now. And at the time, everyone was like there was a lot of like doubt around the room, or not around the table. And then we had a conversation a bit later, and there was people that was doubting it at the time, saying, "I understand." Do you know what I mean? I understand where you're coming from now, and I'm kind of in with you. And that just shows that no matter how much, if you're the only person saying something sat around a table, don't necessarily just go with the flow and think that you're wrong, because if you've got a gut feeling, then be true to yourself, I think. Tell the story of when you was leaving your job and what your boss said to you, because that's a good one.
Well, he at first he was like, okay, I understand, sad to see you go, all that, everything. And then he said, obviously, wish me the best of luck, hope you make a lot of money. That was the main thing, money, which I was like, well, that's not why I'm doing it, primarily. But he obviously offered me the chance to, he was like, if it don't work out, have you got your job, things like that. But he also said that he'd heard of other people doing it or something similar and it not working out and things like that. He didn't actually say that to me, actually. He said that to someone else that worked there, and I heard about it from, and I didn't say anything about it because I just thought, fine. Yeah. So to me, he was fine and supportive and everything, and said, yeah, that sounds good. But then, he said that he'd heard of people doing it before and it didn't work out and things like that, which I didn't really understand, or I wasn't really fazed by it.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier, like the resilience you get to other people's.
Yeah, like, is that a challenge? Okay.
Yeah, like the
belief system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I believe in myself. I believe in you boys. I'm all in with this, and nothing that somebody could say is going to make me go, oh no, I'll go back to Curry's. Like, whatever you say, what you want. Like,
absolutely.
You build up your resilience to that.
Absolutely, and I think what Brandon just said there is absolutely on point. It's not to do with the money. It's to do with, of course, we all need money to pay our bills.
At first, though, you think it is.
Yeah, but it's the way of living. It's the freedom it gives you. To the time. The time. I can't tell you how grateful and I appreciate my time.
Yeah,
I know sometimes it can be. I know once you've been at your home for a period of time working for yourself, you can. I remember feeling I can't wait to get home, and then after several months of being at home, you're like, I just need to get out of this house. It's weird how things work, but it's just that time. Instead of having to get up in the morning, I remember like rushing around trying to help Kylie with the kids, and then rush off to work, and then Kylie had to get the kids away, and because she had a job as well. But now we're like a team now, and we're working our own schedule in your own time, and that is the driver.
That is an empowering part, isn't it? Being able to choose your own. Like thankfully, with what we do, to a large extent, you can manoeuvre things around in your time of the day to suit, can't you? Which is great. I have had a message come through though, as well on the Insta again, private messaging from Digital Frenzy, I think he was called. So, but he said, who has been your sort of, if we went around the room, 3 most inspirational, like, personal development person to follow, or who's had a big impact on your personal development that you maybe follow or listen to or read or so on and so forth. I think that's how we put it across.
I'll be honest. My first one's my mother, for sure, in terms of like influencing me and stuff. We've had these conversations.
Well, so I think we've all got to go with that one now.
I've set the precedent. In terms of like the personal development world, and it's. And then I suppose I'd use one for my family in terms of stepdad, dad, the perspective that they've given me is great. And then the third one, because I don't consume that much content from other people, I'll be honest, other than Tony Robbins at the minute. He's been, do you know what I mean? The stuff that he's put out and the words and stuff that's kind of resonated with me has been like life-changing. What the other 2 things had done, like my family, my mum and whatever had done, was put me in a position where I was at that point to accept that, and then his work has helped me no end, to be honest. And then there's people, you three boys. Do you know what I mean?
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. For sure. Like in terms of UPW, I wouldn't have gone unless Kev had gone. Oh, I went to UPW last year, boys. Let's go. And then that UPW, a world in itself. It's a whole different conversation. But you three boys are another one on that list. I don't have three. I've got four.
Yeah. How about you, mate?
Similarly, obviously you guys, because it's the masterminds, the talks we have and everything. I know that we can talk about anything. If there's ever any doubt in our mind about anything, it's always sort of ironed out, talks about. I know that it helps progress me more every time we do talk, no matter what it's about, to be fair, because we can talk for hours and hours.
We've got 5 episodes.
6 hours. Another one, same with Izaak, could be my mum, and the third, I'd probably say Tony Robbins as well, or Gary Vaynerchuk. Another one I do like is Timothy Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss, yeah.
I don't know why I said Timothy. But yeah, like Izaak said, the one I listen to most as well is probably Tony Robbins. So I don't know if it's for that reason that he's in terms of consuming like content. I don't know if that's why, because I watch him more. But yeah, there's 3 that I'd quite like in that aspect.
Yeah,
Tony Robbins.
I think the people around you. It's so important. Once you've got people around you that are inspiring, like you guys, to have your mothers, give you that inspiration and that support. Unfortunately, I don't have my mother around me every day. You guys, that's incredible.
It's just the fact that I can go into my dining room at home, and my mum's been into personal development and stuff since I was very young. And there's just a wealth, and I've not even tapped into. This is the reason why I kind of used her as like my number one for personal development and how it's influenced me, because it's always been there. And then as soon as something else is mentioned, whether you've mentioned it or Tony Robbins has mentioned it or anybody's mentioned it, then it's like, that's a conversation that I've had 5 years ago. But because at the time when I was 13 years old or 15, I didn't acknowledge it, because you're 15 years old and you're talking about,
and now you've become aware of it.
And now I've become aware of it, and now I can actually tap into things that were said to me when I was younger.
It now maybe makes
sense.
It
now resonates, and that's why I'd say that's the reason why I said my mum, because she's been into it for so long and influenced that.
Yeah, I think for me, I absolutely agree with what you said. The people around you, you guys, Kylie especially. I mean, I've been with Kylie now for 10 years. And to see her getting up in the morning, going to the gym, it's incredible to see somebody, just really try. Yeah, absolutely, just really become the best they can be. The first, I'm trying to think. I've consumed a lot of people, from Tim Ferriss to Les Brown to Eric Thomas, but if I had to, first one, I'd say you guys and Kylie. Obviously, seeing her and being with her every day. The second, I would absolutely have to begin with Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn for me is, I'm devastated. I remember the day I'd consumed literally 4 weeks solid of Jim Rohn, and then I did, unfortunately, I Wikipedia'd him, and I realised that he died 6 years before, and I can't tell, I don't even know I'd never seen him or anything, but I was like, oh. I wanted to see him. Do you know?
The emotional connection's huge.
Yeah, huge. Because he the 2 really definitions that resonated with me with Jim Rohn initially was the definition of success. He said that success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day, and that can go from eating an apple every day to going for a walk every day, going to the gym every day. That will equal success. In your business, taking action in your business every day, that will equal success. So I was like, that makes sense.
And it's simple as well.
And it's simple, yeah. Then he said the definition of failure is a few errors in judgment repeated every day. So if you, not going against anybody that maybe smokes or something, but if you repeatedly smoke over a long period of time, that's going to result in a failure of your health. Yeah. So even it's the same as if you're sat on the sitting watching television every day. like Netflix and then just eating junk food all the time. That's going to turn into some sort of failure eventually. So Jim Rohn, absolutely. So, and then the third one has to be Tony Robbins as well. Tony Robbins, he was the first seminar I went to, Unleash the Power Within, and that had it literally had a life-changing effect on me. You said it already.
Yeah.
It literally had because of that intense experience of being like, I didn't even know this world existed.
Yeah.
And like, because I think everybody, it's true, everybody has it in them to do what they want. That's not trying. I'm not trying to sound like a Mother Teresa or anything. But anybody has that personal power to really take massive action and achieve whatever you want.
Yeah, they don't know it until.
So yeah, I would say those three.
Yeah. Oh, well.
How about you?
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much similar lines of obviously mum, dad, etc. They've obviously had a massive influence on me. I've got family who's been quite influential on myself as well. I've got an auntie and uncle who've done very well for themselves. So I think when we were sat out on their boat that time,
huge,
I think and he was telling us his kind of life story about how he'd got from just being an everyday normal guy to how he'd worked up to building his businesses, but not just one business, multiple businesses to make up to where he's got to now. That was very inspiring to read through and listen to. Sorry, from a content point of view, I would say obviously Tony Robbins, like yourselves, and that's obviously somebody we've both shared quite a bit of content with together about, especially when we went to Unleash the Power all together. That was quite an experience. Not so well known, but somebody I do watch quite a bit, and it's more from the Facebook point of view, is that Prince EA. I don't know if you've come across
Prince
him as well.
Yeah,
some great videos, yeah.
They're like, I don't tend to read as much as I'd like to at the moment, but I do kind of keep in touch with what he's doing on there, and I do like some of the content he puts out on there as well. And Jim Rohn as well, basically as well. He's somebody, again, he's rubbed off. I think it's who you're with, 90% of the time. I think it rubs off with what you're all looking into. So that's why I think it's passed between us all, if that makes sense.
I think Jim Rohn was the person who Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
Tony Robbins' mentor.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why if you don't know an awful lot about Jim Rohn, but you do a lot of Tony Robbins, you may watch Jim Rohn.
He's going to be core principles.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's where Tony Robbins got a lot of his stuff from, and it's it was devastating that he passed away. And another one that I was thinking of was oh God, what do you call him now? I've lost him. Sorry.
Where's he gone?
Bob Proctor, that's the one, sorry.
Yeah.
Bob Proctor, he's another one that I've because I get my daily insights of the day. If you just search if you just search for Bob Proctor daily insight of the day or something like that, you get a daily email sent to you, which is like an inspirational quote. Which
right.
it does. It's one of those things. I don't watch it. I don't see him every single day, but when I do see him, I'm like, oh, that's a nice little quote.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good to just surround yourself with, like, when you get a notification on your phone, if that's something like somebody that inspires you, just released a new podcast or a new video on YouTube, getting those notifications rather than a Facebook notification of something that's going to have like a zero sum to your life whatsoever, then it's good to just fully immerse yourself in the world of the content from these people that's brilliant. I'm not saying sit for 6 hours a day and watch. Do you know what I mean? Because your time's important as well. But if you can, like, as Tony Robbins said, like, no extra time. So if you can put on something like this mastermind, if you fancy it, while you're working, play over it again or something, then it's good to just constantly be consuming stuff that's going to make you better. Like, for example, when I'm sat working, sometimes I'll just put on like a Gary V, a Tony Robbins, Stephen Bartlett. I've listened to his podcast the other day. It's just good to just consume things that makes you more knowledgeable. Really.
You make a good point, because I mean, we are very fortunate that we're a group of friends that we see each other.
Everybody does.
Not everybody has a network like that. So it's an incredible thing that the internet's give us. It's like for anybody could be. You may be striving, taking the life on, but maybe you don't have a close network where you can physically go and have a conversation with. But you can get on YouTube and you can. It don't have to be the gurus, if you like, of Tony Robbins. You could just find somebody that you resonate with, which was it Stephen?
Yeah, Stephen Bartlett is a 25-year-old, I believe, CEO. He made his own company called Social Chain, which is now a huge marketing agency. And I've seen his videos because he does a lot on promoting himself on social media and stuff to make himself like the brand. One of his videos popped up one day, and then I've just consumed his content regularly because I think it's awesome that a young guy from very humble upbringings is now the CEO of like a multi-million pound company. I just think it's good, and he's got a really good podcast out at the minute. If any of you guys want to watch it, just search Stephen Bartlett on iTunes. It's a really good podcast. It's just more perspective, more somebody else's perspective, and then you find things that you can relate to and think.
And that's why Facebook groups are great as well, isn't it? You get into Facebook groups of, productivity or Tony Robbins or whatever, and then you find people like-minded, yeah. Like
because there is people out there like you. There is so many like us and like the people watching and whatever that you've just got to. You're not going to find them down your local pub. Do you know what I mean? You're going to find the people because that's not where they go.
Yeah.
You're going to find them in,
sometimes.
like you say, the
Facebook yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
I think for me, it's been a case of like through personal development and so on and so forth, and looking into that area of your life. That's why things like this are happening. I mean, we used to meet all together as the four of us, 5, 6 sometimes, depending on who could make it at the time. But generally speaking, the four of us, since we've started doing our own little masterminds, have continue to do this, and that's why now we've started to put it out on YouTube for anybody else who wants to get involved. But for me, the mastermind sessions have all come around because of personal development as well, and it's finding, for me, like we've all just mentioned, finding those like-minded people that you can go to and express yourself a little bit and say, I've come up against this, and what's your perspective of this, and or even just that upbeat mode. It might be you're feeling a little bit down on that particular day. You might get together, have a bit of a meeting with your friends, masterminds, whatever it may be, and their energy rubs off on you instantly, and that's what the importance about keeping like-minded people around you, I think, is massive, because that energy and aura you pick up on, and you become what you take in. Yeah, so, if you're hanging around with people that are always negative and don't think you can do this, or if you said to them, I've had this idea, what do you think about it? And they're all saying, looking at the negatives before looking at the positives. You need people, you don't need yes men, but
you need real heads around.
I mean, there's a difference. There's a difference between, your parents or your family. They're going to see the potential, if you're just blind going, I'm going to do this, and you want somebody to say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? But you don't want somebody to go, that's a crap idea. Because at the end of the day, your inspiration comes from your ideas that you have, and then you don't want somebody just like going, nah, that never worked. Because
it's the complete opposite of what you're doing. Like you said, with you going at it blind, they don't know either. If they're just going no without them questioning,
they're saying no blind as much as you're going.
I think we've all had experiences where we've maybe come to the group and sort of like said, I'm thinking about this, and then you might go, yeah, that's a great idea, or it sounds a great idea, but have you thought about from this angle, if that makes sense? And then that might shed a bit of light, and you might think, yeah, actually, do you know what I mean? I like that idea, but I maybe need to tweak it a little bit and go down this avenue, sort of thing. So,
which is really powerful,
exactly.
And that's why we mastermind. That's why
this is why incremental changes make things so much better. If I had an idea, and like you say, like Brandon gave me like a small incremental change to make, Gareth gave me one, and you gave me one, I'd be 3 changes better off with the idea. Which is great.
I think it's massive.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I do think if you do have anybody that's negative around you, then it's going to pull your morale down a little bit. So it's very. I can't remember what the quote is. It's something like protect your mind or something, because whatever you consume, whatever you sort of put out to the world, if you believe in the law of attraction things, you're going to attract. If I wanted to, I guess I could complain to Facebook right now and say how crap the world is right now, and Donald Trump this, and do you know what I mean? But all that's going to do is other people will go, yeah, I don't like him either. And then you end up, I think Tony Robbins called it something like, you end up, if you put your shit out there and then somebody else puts their shit out there and you end up playing shit together.
Shit, yeah. I think it's true though. You won't let somebody punch your body physically. So when somebody comes in and says something negative, like really negative, it is like a psychological punch. And so you won't let somebody punch you physically, so don't let somebody do it psychologically. Right. Do you know what I mean? Just isolate yourself away from that. If that's something that's in, it might not be in your life, but if you can try and limit the amount of negativity you expose yourself to, I think that's a great thing to do.
That's why we're very careful on the selective peer group that we've got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
definitely, it's.
I think it's been quite a good. I don't know how you guys that are watching are finding it, but I think this has been quite a powerful mastermind tonight. I think it's not. We've not
it reinforces it for us, doesn't it?
It's like a different take on.
Yeah, and for people watching, I think they're probably getting to know us a bit better. Do you know what I mean? In terms of not just talking business-wise.
For anybody that has been watching, if you just give us a thumbs up on each of our streams, that would be great because one of the things that really helps us out is if you interact with our streams. It tells YouTube that this is a good stream if you interact with it by giving it thumbs up. If you
gets us out there as well.
Yeah, if you like to share it, if you like to share it with whoever you think that's maybe beneficial for this conversation, that would be great as well. So I don't know if has anybody got any questions, or we're going to start wrapping up.
I think we're pretty good to start wrapping up.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't have any more. I'm pretty happy with what we've said tonight. I think there's a lot of value in that. I feel.
Yeah.
So where can people find you, Brandon?
So obviously people that might be watching on YouTube now, you can find us on the Success Creation team, or get us on Instagram at Amazon Success Creation. It's all things Amazon, as well as
us, like our day-to-day, day-to-day life.
So yeah, check it out.
And if you're watching on my stream, I'm Gareth from Fueled by Success. Again, you can find me on Insta and also on Facebook by the same name. Just as a little plug very quickly, I am going to be carrying out an interview with the guys on my left and right. A little bit of a background story to find out where they've come from. I know we talk a lot about where we're at right now and so on and so forth, but we're going to delve a little bit deeper. So a little plug there, so keep tuned for that, please.
Sure.
How about yourself?
Yeah, it's same. You can find me in the same place you can find Brandon.
Hopefully not all the time.
The pub, no, I'm only joking. If you go to the Success Creation team on YouTube, subscribe to us there, watch our videos, that'd be appreciated. And on Instagram, that's probably where we're most active, and that's Amazon Success Creation for that.
Yeah, and I'm Kev, Life Success Engineer. I'm on YouTube. I've also got a blog at lifesuccessengineer.com. I am very active nowadays on Instagram at Life Success Engineer, as well as Snapchat, which is just everyday life, behind the scenes with Kylie and the family and the kids. So yeah, I really, really appreciate you guys watching this stream this week. This is great for us to be able to communicate in this way. One day, who knows, we might actually put a bit of an event on. So if you're interested in that potentially in the future, go to lifesuccessengineer.com/events. In 2018, potentially the four of us can arrange something where it's not just a meal, meal. Maybe we rent out a hotel room or something, and a conference room at a hotel or something, and then a conference room, and then we can, we all mastermind together live instead of get out of that hotel room. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, I think
Next week, 6 p.m.
Thursday, 6 p.m.